Okay, CAT. This is an activity-based question. So, well, I mean, what we are doing in the end is still probably comparing. Let's see, we're probably going to be comparing, yes, traditional absorption costing, traditional traditional absorption costing with ABC. So remember the key issue here is that the overheads are absorbed using just your older drivers of either labor or machinery with traditional absorption costing. But we argue that we can break those overheads down and actually find out what is causing those overheads. Right. So let's look at the story. We have four products here, detail of four products and the relevant information given below. Four products A, B, C, and D. And we they give us information about the output, and this is useful, we'll see later on, because sometimes a lot of these products are made in batches, and therefore you might inspect them in batches, and that will give you an indication of how many quality inspections have taken place if you're inspecting them in batches. But you'll be told, or they might be procured. Sorry, the process of setups might be in batches, and that will give you an indication of how many setups. So you want to be sort of just aware that output is not necessarily individual as in individual units. All right, let's go. So here we are. We have the direct materials and direct labor. We don't have issues with that. We're thankful for that. We have that information straight away. Right. So um, let's see. What do we have here? It says that the four products are similar and they're usually used in. I mean, we're also given the machine hours per unit. It says the four products are similar and are usually produced in production runs of 20 units. So they're produced in production runs of 20 units. And what I've done here, I mean, that's the same thing I've just done here, where it says that each production run is 20 units. So in 20 units, that's how it works. And they are sold, just going back to that, it says that they are sold in batches of 10 units. So what does this really mean? So if you're doing that in production runs of 20 units and you have batch sales of 10 units, we can find, first of all, I mean, I did this first, but let me look at the production runs first of all. If you have if you're making 120 units and you're doing production runs of 20 units each, I'm sure you will agree with me that what we're really doing is that we are, if you like, carrying out 120 divided by 20 as in 6 production runs. So 20 times 6, of course, is 120. And I'm literally doing the same thing. 100 divided by 20, and that's what you see over here. 80 divided by 20, and 120 divided by 20. So in effect, I have the number of production runs, and that's my total number of production runs. So I will need this information later on because I will be given the total cost of all the production runs, and I can find what the cost of a production run is. This question also goes on to tell me here that the production overhead is currently absorbed by using a machine hour rate, and the total has been analyzed as follows. So the point here is this: for my traditional absorption costing, I'm interested in just the total. So my total of 26,000 is absorbed over machine hours. It's absorbed over machine hours. So I suppose the ideal thing is to find the total number of machine hours. And so if I'm making if I need 4 machine hours to make a unit of A, that's a total, isn't it, of 4 times 120. And then I just kind of work that across the room where I have 3 times 100, I have 2 times 80, which is what you see there, and 3 times 120. And so those are my total machine hours. So I have a total of 1,300 hours. So basically, 1,300 hours drives this overhead of 26,000 according to the absorption costing method. In terms of batch sales, right? I'm selling. I should actually use a different color here. As well, I'll just use the same thing. The principle again is that you are selling these in batches of 10, and therefore, again, you can see here, you can have those batches. So you might be doing quality inspections, I don't know, and it does tell us as well, we'll see that. Um, so that's kind of the first bit, and then it tells us here, you have the drivers, And in terms of materials handling and dispatch, the number of orders executed were 42, each order being for a batch of 10 of a product. So you can naturally see that that plays out naturally here because you're selling 10, and so in the end, of course, you will end up executing sort of the same thing, wouldn't you? Anyway, let's focus on the traditional absorption costing first, because that's really the first point here. That okay, listen. First point here is that we just want to build a statement based on traditional absorption costing. We know the total cost of 26. We know the total machine hours are 1,300, and therefore the overhead per machine hour is 20. So therefore, based on machine hours, I know that it takes 4 hours to make each unit. So I can assign £20 for every hour, and therefore that's £80, yes? And that's what you're seeing over here. You are seeing B23, which is this £20 times B7, and B7 is over here times the machine hours. So I'm literally multiplying the 20 and the 4. I'm literally multiplying the 20 and the 3. If you like, you can see here, this is 60, and I'm literally going across. So my problem here, I always want, I highlight this all the time. My problem here are overheads. My problem is not the direct materials. That's given to you. You have that information already given to you. All you have to do is just pluck it out and use it. So now what I can do is that I can add together and find my total unit cost, which is what I've done over here. You multiply all of that and you have your total unit cost based on traditional absorption costing, right? And that's the sum, of course, of the direct materials, direct labor, and the production overhead. And there you are, that's your unit cost. Of course, my total cost, of course, because I make 120 units of courses, and so therefore I'm multiplying B32 times B2, and that's where you have that, and that's your total cost. So this is the cost, if you like, per unit, and of course I just multiply all that together, and I do that the same right across, because now I have my total cost per unit. Okay, and that's the first bit. Now, using activity-based costing, what do I know? Well, I know, as it gives it to me here, that this 26,000 is actually broken up into several parts. That's the point here. And I can find, if you like, what the overheads are per these drivers, right? And it gives you what's causing what the driver is of these costs. It's telling you that production runs, drive setups, requisitions raised, drives, stores receiving, as you can see that cost there. So if I can find these numbers, well, I can find what the costs are per each of them, right? Because these are actual quantitative drivers. Right. So let's look at that. So let's go back to our spreadsheet, because I think I've tried to look at this. All right. Okay. So right. So I think it's good to actually practically to do this. So you can see here that first of all, in terms of setup costs, I know that you have a total, like I think I mentioned that earlier on, a total of 21 setups, 21 production runs. And if you have a total of 21 production runs and you have a total setup cost of 5,250, well, the cost of each setup, will be 5250 divided by 21. 5250 divided by 21. That's 250. It's 250. So I'm slightly surprised that I haven't written that in here. I think I've moved too quickly. So I can just find that. Yes. Oh, there you are, 250. But where? I've written equal 250. So I have calculated it. Oh, here we are. Oh yeah, and here we are. So here's my setup cost here, 5,250 divided by 21, and that's my setup cost. Right. The question says here that in terms of machine hours, remember I still my machine hours are still 1,300. My machine hours are still 1,300. It's just that my cost is is 10,430. And so you have 10,430 divided by 1,300. So, and there you are, £8.02. The stores receiving the requisitions. The question tells us that you have 20 for each product. It says that the number of requisitions raised on the stores are 20 for each product. So I have 24 times, right? 20, 20, 20, 20. Those are the number of requisitions raised. And so that is a total of 80 in total, which is, or you could just split that 3,600 equally, if you like, as a total, because if the total cost is 3,600 and each of them have 20, 20, 20, 20, it just means that I can just nicely split this into 4 parts, which is what I think I went for. And so that's the total cost. This is a total cost, actually, this figure here. Here, I know that, like I said, you had 42 batches, sales batches, and 42 delivery batches, if you remember over here. That's what these are, these ones over here. So therefore, I can find what it is per quality inspections, 50 per quality and 110 per materials handling. And now what I simply do is I go into the question and I ask, well, what's the picture for each of them? You know, what's the story for each of them? And we can see, if I come back out here, that I had 6 production runs for A, 5 production runs, 4 and 6. So all I'm literally doing is, now that I know that each production run is 250, I will multiply that 250. Let's look at the setup cost here. That's the 250 times B14, which is the number of production runs, right? And we do exactly the same thing right across. There again, that's 250 times the number of production runs of B, 250 times the number of production runs of C, which of course must be 4, and 250, and because I had 6 production runs. Remember, that's the 900 split. That's the 3,600 just nicely split between the 4 of them. And my quality inspections are done on a batch basis. So remember here, I have 50 £50 per batch, but I have 12 batches. So I have here, when we do the math, we can see that we have 50 times 12, 50 times 10, 50 times 8, 50 times 12 again, based on the batches. And the same, of course, with materials handling, which would be 110 times 12, 110 times 10, 110 times 8, and 110 times 12 again. And so what I've done there, this was slightly interesting, because what I had to do here was, because I'm dealing with totals, that's what the question is asking, with the machine cost, I need to find out what the total, I know it's £8 per machine hour, right? I know that. So in total, I'm really saying, well, £8 and 2p times the total number. I could have just done that straight away, but because you know it's 4 machine hours per unit, you make 120, so that's 480, 300 here. So you're literally multiplying this 480 by the £8 and 2, because the question wants totals, although I do it in steps, but you can do that. So basically get your number of machine hours and multiply that by the £8 and 2, and you're there. This, of course, is nice and direct. It literally is 40 times the total number of units that you're producing, which is 120, and doing exactly the same thing here, 28 times 120. And then you're there. And so we can get the total costs, which is what the question is asking us for. So, yes, and then you fill all of that out there, and then you just really add add down your figures. I mean, let me just, I suppose I could format all of this. Sorry, I'll go the other way. Yeah, and that's how we deal with this question. Cool, great stuff.